Oh, hey, Greg.
Brian.
Did you happen to catch that new Egan Orion campaign ad?
Yeah, the one that the stranger printed across the their endorsements issue cover.
Ooh, no, this one was more on the interior.
Okay.
From Egan Orion. Seeking voters. Looking for Latina,
What?
Italian, Spanish woman, fine if partially white or black, or Asian, or Native American, or Middle Eastern. Think United Colors of Benetton. 5'2" to 5'9", 21 to 29, small to medium build. Distinctive features are great, preferably educated.
Brian, I don't even know what to say to that.
Little specific, right?
Yeah, it's a fairly broad demographic when you add it all up, I guess, but all the weirder to identify it in that way.
Well, Egan's anticipated that, and he wants you to know that he hesitated to put this out there because it's so specific. But he wants you to know there's reasons behind his choices.
Oh, it's not weird then. Great.
Your tattoos are so deep, they really make me think.
And welcome back to the Seattle Sucks podcast, where it is once again a Greg and Brian episode.
No!
Colin is off the boat because of stormy seas.
I don't know. He keeps having a family or something. I don't know.
Colin has people in his life who care about him. Me and Greg, however, are on the boat.
Colin goes places because he's middle class.
Joke's on him. So, yeah, I mean, how about that sweet Egan Orion ad on The Strangers? The Strangers had their endorsement. The editorial staff had their endorsement in the interior of the magazine, but the publisher had their endorsement on the front of the magazine.
This is an old story at this point, but we are going to finally get into ballots dropped a couple of days ago. We're going to jump into some really exciting endorsement coverage. You'll hear our own endorsements.
Yeah, we were going to do our own like individual endorsement release. But, you know, we just found this one that's so perfect.
Yeah,
it matches
it's better
everything
it's better to just read what we've got here.
We just thought to amplify it.
We've done a lot of talking about District 4, of course. Sean Scott versus somebody. I can't even remember. Next week, we're going to take, finally, at long last, our deep dive into the District 3 race. So we start talking about... But we're going to talk a little bit about Egan right now, and then we'll get into the other stuff. But yeah, this is old now, but it bears talking about it because it's just so fucking funny.
Oh yeah, and I was joking with Greg that I actually picked up, like a true boomer, I picked up a piece of physical newspaper media outside of a store the other day, and that I got a physical copy of The Stranger.
Disclaimer, Brian is not actually a boomer. You may continue to listen.
Yeah, and I was joking with Greg that I thought from the photo on Twitter that it was like a sleeve ad that had been like put around the newspaper for Egan Orion.
Yeah.
It is literally printed on the bottom third.
Yeah. Well, it's like
the cover.
whatever it's so funny because like their defenses of it were like it's on the there's another cover on the inside, or like most of you read it online anyway, and it's like the editorial news department or the editorial and advertising department, or have a firewall between them, and it's like you kind of missing the point.
They're in adjacent rooms, guys.
It's not. I think they're on different floors actually. The
fact that Stranger has 2 floors is the most shocking part of this.
They do,
whole thing.
yeah, all of 2. The thing is like, yes, if the ed board had come out and endorsed Egan Orion, that would be something to be mad about, because that would be very shitty and stupid. But to get mad at them for selling an ad at Egan Orion, it is their business. For like someone somewhere plotting with the advertising department and this conspiracy to like sell this incredible ad that they probably shouldn't sell at all, to Egan Orion specifically because someone wants him, whatever. What's funny is that they would put a campaign ad on the cover of their endorsement issue at all because, I mean, just because it's so clearly like interferes with just clearly communicating to people who read the paper.
Yeah.
Right? Like this, it's a newspaper. Like their entire thing is saying things to the city.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, so the defenses of it are just baby talk because at the end of the day, the cover of their endorsements issue makes it look like they emphatically endorse Egan Orion.
Yeah.
Many in their past endorsement issues have had on the cover, full cover pictures of candidates they've endorsed, you might want to do in an endorsement issue.
Yeah.
This has something totally abstracted. It's a peach.
Seattle's famous for its peaches.
Yeah, I don't even want to know why, but and then so it's something totally random. Some visual pun of some kind that I'm not even going to look into, and then this massive Egan Orion ad, and it's like you did this to yourself. You endorsed in this election, and then you badly communicated that. I mean, whatever. That's your whole reason for existing, right? Like, that's
it's an enormously stupid thing to do on probably one of the few issues that you're actually moving a lot of copies of. Now, Katie did reach out to me via Patreon. As people know, she is our first Patreon subscriber. And she said that while she sees our point, she also sees many other points.
Okay. I want to hear this.
And that those points form a kaleidoscope. And in the end, who knows who's right or what was wrong?
Well, can you ever really know?
Exactly.
So we're going to save talking about the Flash Mob King versus the Queen of America race next week because we've got some guests coming on. We're going to have a good old time diving into that to give that as much attention as we've given to the D4 race. In our filthy electoralism.
And we'll just sum up, that, and then we'll save it all for next week. But just like we told you guys to go illegally vote in District 4, whether you live there or not, do the same in District 3 and vote for Sawant.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately,
cast-
in America, when you will be charged for each individual criminal act, and that will multiply your sentence.
Voter fraud's not really a crime, Greg. It's at most an administrative slap on the wrist. So while you're casting 6 ballots in District 4, you might as well cast an additional 4 in District 3.
Steal ballots out of mailboxes.
Yes.
It's probably too late. Everyone's probably brought them in, but...
Not me, Greg. I don't look in my mailbox for weeks at a time. So
what do we have, Brian? Tell us what we have here.
Well, as we talked about earlier, we were going to create our own list of endorsements, but friend of the show, Christopher Rufo, he came in and scooped us, and he dropped his list of endorsements, and it just matches ours perfectly.
Saves us time.
We're nothing if not lazy, so we wouldn't take it. We also, SPOG, after 2 years ago, swearing up and down that they wouldn't do endorsements anymore, released their own special list of endorsements. So the Police Officers Guild will be checking in with them periodically to see where they stand on this election.
This is the most important election of cop lives, so...
And all cop lives matter.
Yeah, they sure do.
All right, well... Christopher Rufo, I think he tried to get this published in the Wall Street Journal, probably the New York Times, but it got published on the prestigious outlet of Facebook. And it begins, Seattle people, listen up.
Well, guys, everybody, cool, popular guy speaking here. So
it's got our attention. It's got my attention.
Tune in, turn on.
All right, so here's his thoughts. District 1.
Okay, so District 1. This is Lisa Herbold, the incumbent, and a guy, Phil Tavel, who I saw both of them at the ACLU Washington Police Accountability Forum the other day.
So we both know they're real people.
They exist.
And human.
I have thoughts on them.
Not true in all districts.
Chris lines up with us, so we might as well just hear it from him.
Yeah, District 1, our first endorsement of the day. Drum roll, Phil Tavel.
Okay, yeah, right on.
So Phil Tavel for Seattle is a thoughtful, pragmatic voice for West Seattle. He's a longtime public defender who understands the balance between criminal justice reform and maintaining public safety. His opponent, Lisa Herbold, is an ideologue that has failed to address the problems of homelessness, crime, and affordability during her tenure.
Okay, I can't keep up the ruse. It's too boring. That's Lisa Herbold as an ideologue. Okay, dude, chill out. But what's he accuses her of not having solved homelessness and our other social problems? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, she's too soft on the homeless. And even though I'm sure it, as we kind of heard him express, pains him to have to endorse
a public defender,
he is clear that he does believe in maintaining public safety, which I can only assume means putting homeless people in camps.
Right. Well, we know that the this dichotomy he's trying to draw between criminal justice reform, which is a meaningless concept in itself, and public safety is bullshit anyway. But as we know, as so sharply pointed out at the other cop issues forum, the SPOG forum by District 4 candidate Sean Scott himself.
Absolute champ.
The cops are out there killing people. They're the public safety menace that we need to fucking deal with. Okay, so but Phil Tavel's an interesting character. I mean, he is a public defender. That might sound like the kind of person you'd want to vote for, but in a crowd of people, of candidates, those who showed up to that police accountability forum, he was one who stood out for being kind of wishy-washy on some things. I mean, largely the whole
There's a term for that. It's called taveling.
Yeah, basically, yeah. The whole thing was sort of a joke. The questions were mostly stupid. I don't remember them all. I live tweeted it, but I didn't. I go read some actual reporters shit.
Greg doesn't remember the questions because he's too busy on his goddamn phone.
No, yeah, basically. I don't know how. I mean, whatever. I was just trying to. I was just base posting, but
you should have asked each one, if cops are shooting in your neighborhood, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, a lot of candidates took. Well, about half the candidates took the time to go, well, we need to, to give a little deference to officers. But he certainly did, and he was sort of very equivocating on a lot of stuff that everybody else was really lined up on. On police accountability,
actually engaging in.
And you got to wonder, so it's not like some kind of hero public defender.
Yeah,
we're talking.
He's
about
already equivocating now, and it doesn't even matter.
Right.
There's no
and he was in a crowd. I mean, he was in front of a crowd that was
responsive to not doing that.
Yeah. This was people who wanted to hear the cops are going to be held accountable, and it's not and he did on a lot of things come down on the same side as everybody else. Again, these questions were largely bullshit and very small in scope. It got a lot of them were very technical, very specific legislative and contract issues. That asking where would you come down on this very specific issue that's happening right now. This is bullshit, because it doesn't really get to an overall viewpoint on it. Some people went out of their way to make their viewpoint known. I mean, Sean Scott certainly did.
Again, King.
Tavel and Dan Strauss and Andrew Lewis and Jim Pugel all sort of went out of their way to cast SPOG, the Seattle Police Officers Guild, as part of the labor movement. Tried to cast their support of collective bargaining. And
we'll see if that pays out for them with the SPOG endorsements.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, they tried. They're we think, collective bargaining is sacrosanct and this is a union and these are workers. We support union workers. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Cops are not labor. I'm sorry. They're
So-
the fucking boot of the state.
Also, when Boeing used the state to overturn the IAM's contract in 2012, I'm sure I can find every one of these people speaking out against it, right?
Yeah.
And they're still very upset about it, I'm sure.
And, other candidates were there to say,
How did
fuck
Yeah, fuck the police.
SPOG and that
Yeah.
fucking contract.
Yeah.
Shama came up very strongly. Where everyone went, there was this great moment actually where it like went down the line and everyone was like, yeah, well, clarify, like, I just want to say, we have to be good partners in these negotiations with this union, when to get a better contract next time, and like whatever. And the moderator comes back around to Sean, who he started with, because he's hearing all these people say like, well, the union is the union and like we need to work with them and like we're not blaming the union for this. This is a bad process, at City Hall and whatever. And he's like, did you want to clarify? Like, he's like giving him an opportunity to like massage or take back like something that could have been interpreted like that he was blaming SPOG for this. And Sean's just like, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm blaming Seattle Police Officers Guild for the shitty contract.
Dang.
They are in total bad faith with any concept of reforming the department. As we will see as we get into. So like it was a weird scene, man. It was a weird scene. But Tavel, like he just came off. He's the chamber candidate.
Yeah. How did Lisa come off in it? Nothing remarkable.
Yeah, not remarkable.
Feels
like
her entire
that's
career.
kind of I know. You just like she's just the
That's
better.
the funny part about her being an ideologue. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's so funny. Like she can be all over the place, and she's not terrible on a lot of things. Like, but she's certainly not as bad as Tavel, he's the chamber candidate for sure. He's anti-density.
The usual pile of horse shit that you'd expect Christopher Rufo to endorse. So, released earlier this week, hot off the presses to all media outlets from Officer Kevin Stuckey. Sorry, it's a funny name.
Oh wait, do we get to hear from
President
SPOG?
Kevin Stuckey. We have our SPOG endorsements.
Okay.
And they were, we'll just say, short-winded on this. But for District 1, who do you think, Lisa or Tavel?
You're holding me in suspense. All our listeners are on the edge of their toilets right now.
They went ahead and endorsed Phil Tavel.
Oh,
so
well,
there we
about
go. So
now, this is only remarkable in that in some races, they chose not to endorse at all. So know that when you're thinking, oh, this guy, he's a career public defender, just realize that SPOG came out and only endorsed in half of the races, and they
endorsed
Tavel
sparingly, and Tavel was on the list. So I feel like that means you mark Tavel off your list immediately.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to District 2.
District 2.
Mark Solomon and
Tammy Morales. So this is the southeastern quadrant of the city.
Yes. So, our boy, Christopher Rufo,
Let's hear it.
endorses Mark Solomon.
No one... There's nothing...
Mark Solomon.
This
The
joke
tension...
is getting fucking old, man.
Do you think that people have already read this? Is that why you think there's no tension?
Yeah, my mom probably on Facebook.
Everybody who reads those like memes that boomers post about like, don't help this child. If a child comes up to you asking for help, don't help them, or else gangs will murder you. So Mark Solomon, he's a military veteran and longtime Seattle police employee who would bring his brand of calm, rational leadership to South Seattle.
Yeah, rational leadership. Wow, yeah, that sounds great. Also endorsed by Jenny Durkin.
You'll be surprised to learn, endorsed by SPOG.
Oh, my
not to jump ahead on her.
What
on
do you know
this.
about that? Well, that doesn't surprise me. So he didn't show up to that police accountability forum. Tammy Morales was there.
I'm sure he was stuck in traffic.
This is a much easier line to draw here. This Mark Solomon guy is your down the line chamber, Seattle establishment Democrat choice. Whereas Tammy is, someone who's pretty good on most things, on social justice, on housing, on, economic issues. Like she's, this is a pretty good candidate for District 2. She flirts with the left. You can, get into what you feel about those specific flirtations or whatever, but it doesn't really matter in this race. Like she's pretty cool. And she was, she acquitted herself well, I think, at the accountability forum. Again, I didn't write anything down that anyone said. And I don't remember. It was all of days ago. So,
yeah. Well, when we talk about the calm, responsible leadership of, say, a Mark Solomon, just this last week, the esteemed Office of Police Accountability went ahead and, not acquitted, because it's definitely not a legal hearing or whatever, but went ahead and put their thumbs up stamp of approval on the first police murder of this year for Seattle PD, which happened mere minutes after the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. And
that is
grim,
deeply fucked up. Yeah.
In which case, 4 police officers accosting a man on Aurora over on my side of town. 2 of the officers held the man down while another officer pulled out his gun and executed him.
Well, and is that the safest way to do it.
Is that the calm, responsible leadership that we need?
Brian, listen, baby steps, okay? There was a time where we might have been talking about SPD launching thousands of rounds and hundreds of grenades into a residence, for example, or unloading their clips into a vehicle in a high-speed chase or something.
Greg.
They did the safe, responsible thing, pinned him to a ground, and got a nice, clean headshot.
Greg, funny you should bring this up, as Officer Jared Keller, who killed the man on New Year's Eve, also was involved in a previous police murder in 2017, where him and 6 other police officers chased a man into the woods and then fired blindly into the woods at the guy, killing him too. So not only do we see growth in SPD, we see growth in our boy Jared.
Yeah.
Who went from the, I'm just going to say, irresponsible waste of bullets, which we pay for as taxpayers.
Sort of the Predator model.
Yeah, exactly. You move from the Predator 1 model to more of a Tom Berenger sniper model.
Okay, yeah.
Saving the taxpayer countless, dollars. So
lead's not free, people.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So congratulations, SPOG, and congratulations, Mark Solomon, for getting the endorsement of the group that just executed somebody and got away with it.
So it's funny. A lot of questions at that forum the other day revolved around sort of technical issues with how the OPA is comprised and what its limitations or what its capabilities are, should be, or could be, how that relates to the contract, and it's like at the end of the day, it's obviously worthless.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Absolute joke. So yeah, if you're in District 2 or District 2 curious, cast about for Tam Morales, I guess. All right.
Oh yeah.
So in District 3, I'll drop the pretense, Greg. He didn't endorse Sawant. I thought he would.
Oh no.
He endorsed our boy Egan Orion. I'll give you a guess though as to why he endorsed Egan Orion.
He participated in one of his flash mobs?
Not even that much fun. Egan Orion is not Shama Sawant, and that's more than enough reason to vote for him. In parentheses, communism is bad.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. What's great about that is it really sums up all the principles behind the Egan Orion candidacy, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
that was the Chamber's bet when they anointed him to run against the demon Shama.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, we're just gonna run against Shama, so we'll get some kind of poster child, right? And so what they did was pick a guy with obviously no sort of, forget technical or experience but certainly not moral or ideological or really any qualifications, just any reason to vote, anything to sell you on this guy, except, okay, he's not Shama, but more importantly, he is what the chamber types, the sort of business community types think of as what they want District 3 to be. What District 3 actually is another story.
Sure.
It's an extremely diverse district by in every possible way, certainly racially, ethnically, also by income. But to the Chamber of Commerce and those types, they want to see District 3 as Capitol Hill, and they want to see Capitol Hill as the Gayborhood, and they want that to mean middle-aged, white, male, gay, family, small business people.
Well, it's even, I feel like whereas District 6, they feel should be run by small business tyrants.
Yeah.
District 3, they feel should be run by like medium business tyrants.
Yeah.
So people have like 2 restaurants.
Yeah, and
they should be the ones in charge.
So they found that guy who was involved in local business development type and chamber type organizations, and was like, oh, he's our vision of, he's the guy who put on the last couple of prides. He's perfect. He's our this sanitized sort of like rainbow washed version of this thing that Capitol Hill isn't even, and that certainly District 3 isn't just that. But it's just so very simplistic, right? Because that's all the thought they put in it. Let's just get a guy who like checks a few boxes, like talk about pride a bunch, and then you put him up there and he just has nothing. He just has nothing.
When he's a bit of a cipher, and that he's definitely not coming out for anything.
No.
But you just know that before he votes on anything, he's calling up the chamber to ask permission.
Right. He's a part of that world, so he has those resources to draw on. He doesn't have any ideology in himself. He has no fucking ideas. The one of the best ones so far is that answer he gave at some forum or debate, like now a month ago, where the issue of sort of violence against LGBTQ people on the Hill came up, and his opponent, Shama Swant, connected this to larger forces of economic and otherwise. And connected that to her program, and he was like, let's get horses and buggies or something to take people to like
I fucking forgot about that.
To like
that
take
rolled.
people to
the thing is,
fenced off like
gay people were never assaulted in the age of the horse and buggy, and that is a fact.
Yeah.
So do you think, so Christopher Rufo is like a kind of youngish person. He's probably just like early mid-30s, right? But he has an old energy. So when Christopher Rufo when me and you, Greg, we're out on the corner, we're espousing communism. I got Mal's Little Red Book. I got it up high. You're, shouting the words of Chairman Bob. When Christopher Rufo sees us and yells out his car window for us to go back to, what country do you think he says?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know.
So I feel like he has, he's a younger conservative, so you would think Venezuela, because that's hot right now.
Oh, okay.
But
I like where you're going with this.
He has old energy, So you might think Russia. But also, Russia's become like a libertarian paradise. So maybe he likes it now. I'm going to throw this out there. I think he tells us to go back to France. I think he's a 2003 conservative.
Oh, man. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take our freedom fries and...
Yeah, go back to France. Anybody who's been yelled at by Christopher Rufo, write us. Let us know what he yelled at you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
He's definitely told somebody to go back to somewhere before, and I feel like that's the one.
Okay, so we're like we said, we're going to talk more in depth about the District 3 shit next week. Tune in for that.
Yeah, the Egan Orion shit festival is happening on Monday.
Yeah.
All right. District 4, Alex Peterson. Now, Greg, calm down. Calm down, all right? I know that this is shocking. So
I'm calm.
Alex Peterson is a former aide to moderate council member Tim Burgess, who is leading the fight to restore pragmatic governance to our city. Peterson's opponent, Sean Scott, is an extremist who has vowed to abolish the Seattle Police Department.
Hell yeah. Not exactly true, but yeah, great. We'll take it. Close enough. In his words, he is for abolition, yes.
So he here, former aide and protege of moderate council member Tim Burgess. If Tim Burgess couldn't be any more up the asshole of every like rich person in Seattle, I love that's moderate. Basically, being the sort of mouth of fucking Sauron for Jeff Bezos, though, like that is being moderate.
Yeah,
moderate
in this town. Yeah, it's a race we've been having the most fun with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like it's kind of the wildest one because there's a huge difference between like where you end up with these candidates. You are talking about like a deeply embedded in Peterson. You've got this deeply embedded like in the institutions. From this base of power. I mean, he, like you said, the protege of Tim Burgess, who is running one of the biggest like PACs in this, in this election. Who's managing money that is deciding this election. Like this is big power. This is a guy who comes from big institutional power, and he sucks. He's against density. He's against transit.
If there's something good you like, Tim Burgess is against it. He doesn't want you to have...
as is Peterson. You know?
And again, when we talk about people being bought and paid for in this election, like nobody's more transparently bought and paid for.
No, this is
Alex
a guy.
Peterson.
His resume is institutional lanyard hack and fire sector, as we've talked about. He's worked in corporate real estate for a long time in this town and elsewhere. And defunding public housing at HUD in the 90s. We've covered all this.
Yeah, and it is exciting because he's transparently a hack, which means in 90% of Seattle City Council elections he would definitely get elected. So the interesting thing is the sort of energy on the other side and the feeling that that this could be possible, right? And I was desperately trying to scroll through the tweets, but the Sean Scott campaign's so active, it's hard to find them. But he had just posted something that they had knocked on more doors in like the previous month and a half.
It was fundraising.
Yeah.
It was their fundraising numbers. They did in the last, few weeks what they did in the entire primary season.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean...
This is after, what we haven't even mentioned yet is that we learned, last week that Amazon would drop $1.5 million into this race to basically try and buy this election like they buy everything else. And, this is one of the races where that money's going to go. It's in all of them. And the thing is, like you're saying, like he is very much like, Peterson got big numbers in the primaries. Yeah. He did very well. Sean Scott came narrowly in second. And that's really great. But the thing is, this is as much energy and as much fun as I'm having, as much we talk about it, and as awesome as Sean is, this is a fucking tough race. Like,
oh yeah,
Some of these others we're not worried about. Like, I think it's like Tammy Morales is going to smack the shit out of Mark Solomon. Like, he's going to embarrass him.
Yeah.
Egan Orion,
Well,
also
hopefully.
it's going to be closer, but he's probably going to go down like an asshole too. That's closer. You know, you need to get out there and keep pounding that pavement in this. But like, it's harder to know in this one because Peterson, he isn't like Egan Orion, which is this guy who like no one even knows how to make a case for. Okay. Alex Peterson has this sort of resume. This is awful, but it is very much. He just sounds to old white homeowner people like the default candidate. That's why he
Sure.
came. And with the Seattle Times endorsement, that they are able to say the right sort of buzzwords about his resume and who he is. Oh, he's worked in City Hall. Like that just sounds too. It's not even about the experience to these people who aren't paying attention to the race until they get their ballot in the mail and they're like, oh, okay, I see the Seattle Times. Oh, this guy sounds like the normal guy, and this other guy sounds like a radical.
Yeah. No.
And my God, I mean, Alex Peterson, this milquetoast shit, this just empty husk got a huge chunk. His
main campaign
primary
strategy seems to be not appearing.
not showing up.
He has the full Buster Bluth strategy of like, just don't be in public.
And
don't let anybody ever see you.
That tells you everything right there. That's been their strategy from the beginning, is to say, we've got the just basic ass motherfucker vote. Like the basic white homeowner who doesn't give a shit about anything that's going on, except they want, they don't want their parking to go away, shit like that. Shit, they don't want apartments to go in their neighborhood. Someone who isn't tuned in, who's just going to tune in to that Seattle Times endorsement and go like, oh, this is a guy who's worked in City Hall and in government. Great. And this is, great. Default. That's what they're counting on, because they know that is a strategy that can win, but they also know that they're up against a very strong, incredibly charismatic candidate with a powerful fucking message. And so they're just trying and it's not really working, but they're trying to deny that this campaign is happening, right? By not showing up, there's that much less that even can appear in the Seattle Times about, the less he even debates Sean, the less he shows up, the less he's quoted, the less anyone in that district tunes in at all.
Well, if him and Sean appear together, the Seattle Times might print something about it.
Right.
But if Sean does a thing, then the Seattle Times will ignore it, right?
Yeah, exactly. He is banking on this sort of default position as like the safe milquetoast choice for idiot fucking middle class white people.
Emphasis on milquetoast.
If those crazy kids do this, if they pull this shit off, and they really could, I know, they really could fucking do it, man. But it's only going to be because they are fucking out there. Sean is showing up to fucking everything. He is making news with the things he's saying. Showing up to that, utterly baffled personally by people's still like after the fact litigating whether Sean Scott should have showed up at that SPOG forum.
Yeah, given how well he did at it, I think it's crazy to even litigate
that's what
it anyway. That's nuts.
When we heard that he was going, we were like, "Oh, that sounds great! You should absolutely go there and make a fucking splash."
Yeah.
And sure enough, he went there, and that was news in this town.
Oh yeah,
what he said that was all over fucking right wing shithead radio and like whatever.
And if you want proof that Sean Scott isn't full of shit, it's like he went into a room of cops and basically fucking did that. Like told them that we should abolish the police.
Yeah.
And then when they asked what are you gonna do if there's a shooter in your neighborhood, it was like, is it you guys?
Yeah.
Like that shit fucking rules.
Yeah.
Like if you want proof that he isn't full of shit.
It's also this is effectively an insurgent campaign, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to make that news. You have to get this campaign in front of people because Peterson is banking on there just being no campaign at all, and all these thousands of nearly retired homeowners opening their ballot this weekend and going like, huh, okay, or more likely leaving it on their coffee table for the next 2 weeks and opening it like a few days before and then having to drive it into a box, or just doing that because they don't trust the mailman or something, you know? Like,
the mailman's stealing my mail.
and if that, and then they just like glance in the Seattle Times and go like, oh, the normal vote, right? But that's how they feel because they saw the numbers from the primary, right? Like the gulf there was huge. But they could really do this because, my God, they are out there.
The energy's on their side. It's crazy.
On those fucking doors. Yeah. Sean's getting out everywhere. Anyone Sean gets in front of in a room, they're probably going to vote for him unless they're really committed to being like right-wing shitheads, which that's plenty of people in this town. But the people who are tuned out, who don't really, which is most people, when he shows up on their door, those people, he walks away from that place, and he is out there personally knocking on those fucking doors.
Do you think
they could do it? But it's going to be because of that. It's going to be because they put in the energy. Yeah. You know?
Do you think this district's going to come down to homeowners renters versus homeowners, and on the renters' side, the children of those homeowners?
Yeah, it's going to be something like that. Like I said, if that's it, then Peterson wins, okay?
Yeah.
Because all homeowners vote. Every single last fucking one of them votes.
They're awful.
But if it's not
if you own
that,
a home in this country, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Well, you shouldn't be allowed to own a home.
There you go.
But if it's not that, if because they have gotten out and knocked on every fucking door and talked to these people and gotten out at all these events and actually changed a bunch of minds... which I mean, I've seen it happen. Like this is what they're doing every day. They could flip that, and then you could have a much fucking closer race. And I think they can pull it off.
Well, I just saw a post on Twitter of somebody saying that basically their neighbor got a visit from Sean Scott, a door knock visit from Sean Scott, and now they're voting for Sean Scott. And then the person tweeting was like, yes, I think I'm going to too. So, there's like some power in that. I would also like to, just in case, put out a call to all our Seattle Sucks listeners. If you know anybody that works for the Postal Service and they happen to work in the Laurelhurst neighborhood, just throw those ballots in. Just take those ballots and put them in the fucking trash.
They're already in the mailboxes.
Yeah. No. I'm saying when they fill them out and they put them in the mail,
they put them in the mail,
just throw them in the trash.
Now, see, it's because of conspiracies like this that they don't do that. They're going to go to the library.
I'm being out in the open about it.
Well, it's a public conspiracy. You're seeking to commit a crime with multiple people involved. Yeah, no, they're going to go to the library and they're going to put it in the big box. My point is only to say, fucking go help them out.
Yeah.
And if you're in that fucking district,
vote Sean Scott.
You really have to do it because they can do this, but it's going to be fucking close and it's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's and that would be I think a pretty enormous victory if Sean Scott won. I mean, that'd be impressive. And also, again, we've stressed this in the past. Think about the meltdowns, guys. The Seattle Times editorial page is going to literally catch on fire. The panic in this city. SPOG.
Well, once they start,
the comments from SPOG Twitter alone are worth it.
Just to reiterate, if Sean Scott gets on there, he's a great candidate who also has a natural charisma and leadership that can not just be put to use on the council for his ideological positions, but probably actually his ability to move them. Yeah. Alex Peterson is the exact opposite of that. He will have the ability, the institutional connections experience to fucking kill anything.
When the Seattle Times, they posted a side-by-side photo of Peterson and Sean Scott, Peterson's charisma was such that it actually sucked the color out of his photo, and he appeared even whiter than normal. So
that was all washed out and glary. Yeah, that was so funny.
They say the Seattle Times did that to make him appeal to Laurelhurst voters, but I think that it's just Peterson's charisma. All right, so just a quick note: the Seattle Police Officers Guild. I know you guys you're yelling at me, screaming at me. Did they endorse Sawant? Did they endorse Orion? Probably you're on the edge of your seat about this Peterson Scott business. They didn't endorse in any of those districts. So we will not get to hear the wizened words of the Seattle Police Officers Guild on those races. So sorry, guys. Sorry.
So they really, really must love Phil Tavel.
Yeah, they punted on 3 and 4, which means they love Phil Tavel. I mean, honestly, the fact that they didn't endorse Peterson is funny to me. But it means that even they are not capable of withstanding Peterson's complete lack of charisma.
Well, listen, again, if this gets
it's
turned
astonishing
around,
how much he sucks.
it's amazing, and I mean, it hasn't really paid off. Sean's got a lot of the institutional endorsements, which is amazing. He's essentially the Democrat in the race at this point because he's got the King County Dems and the 43rd Dems endorsement, which is like a fucking embarrassing for Peterson. So I'm actually baffled as to why SPOG wouldn't endorse Peterson just over.
They are petty and they are awful. And I can
knows?
only think that some personal slight that only SPOG remembers, probably, but who fucking knows?
Yeah, all right.
So let's go to District 5 now, where Deborah Juarez and Ann Davison Sattler are competing. And Juarez, I believe, is one of 2 incumbents running this at this point. So our boy Christopher is going to go ahead and endorse Ann Davison Sattler.
Why, Brian? Is it because she's literally, actually a safe Seattle ghoul?
Well, let's find out. So Ann Davison Sattler is a tireless, optimistic
poster.
She's always be posting. As a tireless, optimistic grassroots candidate that has proposed real solutions to the homelessness crisis.
Yeah, she wants to reel them in so she can dispose of them.
Anne is running a truly neighborhood-based campaign and deserves your support.
That's a thing you...
Also, her last name doesn't make me question her ethnicity. It doesn't say that. that might have been my editorial input. But
that sounds about right. But neighborhood-based campaign. That's that's an observation you could make maybe about like a mayoral race or like a congressional race. It's a city council race. Of course, it's fucking neighborhood based.
I just love it because by neighborhood based, he means that he's talking about like neighborhoods on Facebook, and that like she's a safe Seattle person on Facebook,
and cloaking, and because I mean the real thing is that it's about cloaking these reactionary politics in issues of just like, well, this is what is right for the neighborhood. This is we're talking about. We're down on the local level talking to people, whereas these left radicals are always making it about big global and national issues and trying to connect that to it. And that's this sort of batshit dichotomy they try to make. Like you can solve fucking homelessness on a neighborhood level, you fucking moron.
Yeah, by pushing them into the next neighborhood. You clearly did not learn anything from A Tale of Three Cities in their look at Los Angeles and Culver City.
Owned. I have been owned.
So, I mean, other than the fact that Ann Davison Sattler is an awful safe Seattle
scum,
troll,
fucking slob.
What other things do you love about it?
Dude. Oh. Yeah. I mean, that says it all. You don't need to know anything more. Move on. We can move on.
I was a little bummed out because I just Googled her and I thought for a second she was the one that was in the primaries who kept posing with homeless people and talking about how she was going to put them in shipping containers.
Yeah.
And it's not her. And I was bummed
She's
out about
not
that.
actually the one who sang that song, is she?
No. That was another false alarm that I thought might have somebody who might be running in the primary, but it just turns out some other freak. The problem is all these people on Safe Seattle look exactly the fucking same, and I can't tell one apart from the other. Like, they're white people, Greg. No, they all look the same.
Says two guys looking across a table at each other's
long
red
in each other's eyes at our beards.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like the Safe Seattle crowd is like impossible to distinguish from one another. They're like that weird, completely like just no distinguishing features, like race of suburban people that, just nothing, nothing remarkable about them in any way. They look like they're just cut out of a Pier 1 Imports ad. It's awful. Anyways.
Yeah, well, I think that sums up District 5 because I'm not going to break my brain trying to figure out Deborah Juarez. So.
Well, Greg, luckily you don't have to, because while in the upset of the night...
Whoa, what?
While Christopher is endorsing Sattler, SPOG is endorsing Deborah Juarez.
Like I said, I did not want to break my brain trying to figure out Deborah Juarez. Was this a committee of one that's just like shat this out on their Twitter feed or something? Like,
oh, they probably kicked it around some like cop Facebook page, and then 2,000 posts down, they're like, "All right, guys, we've had enough fun with the N-word. Now, who are we actually endorsing?" So, and so they just shit out the 4 names they could remember, and one name they refused to say, which we'll get into later. But yeah, I think the main takeaway from this is if you're in District 5, you need to illegally vote in District 4 and 3.
Yeah.
Don't even bother in your own district. It's clearly a fucking loss. Do better next time in the primaries, and this time vote in Districts 4 and 3. All right. Well, that brings us to District 6, and that is Heidi Wills versus
Dan Strauss.
Dan Strauss, the Strauss man. And
so Dan was at that Police Accountability Forum the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi Wills not present. Another no-show candidate.
Well, Heidi Wills is going to be Christopher Rufo's endorsement for District 6.
I just find I find amazing that she's even a candidate. It's incredible to me. She was booted out because of being just like flagrantly like old-timey corrupt. like old well, on the waterfront shit. Like
yeah. Well, if there's one thing the Trump phenomenon...
And she's a fucking reactionary too.
Oh yeah. But there's one thing that the Trump phenomenon has shown us, it's that like wealthy home-owning shitheads love that kind of like old-timey corruption. I think they because for them that's
so
like
she is the Trump in this race for sure.
Yeah, that's like the highest that they can like aspire to. Becoming somebody who like takes kickbacks in a paper bag for a districting thing, or whatever, like just some minor thing, right? They can never dream
almost
bigger.
Kind of sad though that the like media scandal moniker Strippergate was wasted on Heidi Wills, instead of something better and bigger.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so Heidi Wills is the clear choice. She understands that the quality of life in Ballard has rapidly deteriorated over the past 5 years. Dude, I fucking agree on that. Just go to that bar district. It was always full of shitheads, but it's so much more full of shitheads now. Yeah. It's awful. Anyways,
might run into Christopher Rufo.
But yeah,
just think about the point he's trying to make there. No one in the entire world who's even heard of Seattle or America would deny that the quality of life, no matter what their politics, would deny that quality of life has deteriorated. Whatever else your understanding of the economy or other people are, just the presence of thousands of homeless people who cannot take care of themselves, who are out on the street, sort of implies a decline in quality of life. So what the fuck are you talking about, Christopher Rufo? No one, that's not a, obviously it's a dog whistle, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, don't worry.
Try a little fucking harder.
I feel like he's going to get into it.
Yeah.
So deteriorating quality of life for the past 5 years, and wants to apply...
Oh, the past 5 years. Yeah. Oh, 5 years ago. Man.
Wants to apply realistic solutions to the problems of homelessness, addiction, and crime.
I want to use magic spells personally. Again, what the fuck? What just like boilerplate nonsense?
All those Wiccan chant circles going on down at Seattle City Hall. Not one has worked.
This is just so lame.
Well, I like that too because that was kind of Mike O'Brien's like final defense over there in Ballard when they would like scream at him in these meetings and just be like, I don't know what you guys like think we can do. I can't just kill them all for being. At one point, he told them, he's like, I can't just put people in jail for being poor. And the meeting erupted.
Yeah.
Like, just went in completely insane because that's basically what we're talking about. That's realism.
Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah, to understand about this, about the Ballard neighborhood, about District 6 is, we shit on District 7 a lot, and you were just and North Seattle, you were saying Laurelhurst in District 4. These are all these, white middle-class bedroom communities. But, like, Ballard District 6 is like the epicenter of, like, the virulent, like, rabid reactionary.
Oh, yeah.
As evidenced by how much those people just fucking despise Mike O'Brien.
Oh, yeah. And Ballard is basically full of people who are... obviously wealthy enough to buy a home in Seattle, and think they belong in Laurelhurst, but don't have near enough money, and that just eats them up inside, and they just become more and more awful with every day.
Well, and what they think the job of city government is to make the place they are living, Ballard, into Laurelhurst for them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
by executing all the homeless people and keeping like pressure washing the sidewalks daily.
That, and I mean realistic solutions to crime or whatever. It's called Shut Down King's Hardware. All right, guys, walking into that place makes you it basically makes you like accomplice to some sort of sexual assault just walking into King's Hardware.
Yeah, very likely.
All right. So she will represent the neighbors of her district, not the special interests and ideological groups that have dominated our politics for too long. Her opponent?
He's just talking not like he hasn't said a single thing yet.
Well, what he means, which is the Safe Seattle thing, is the special interests are the homeless people who run Seattle politics. That famously politically empowered group of people, the homeless.
Jesus.
Her opponent, Dan Strauss, wants to open a safe injection site in Ballard, which will only accelerate our neighborhood's decline. Ooh. Are we hearing that Christopher lives in Ballard? I think so. If you see Christopher in Ballard, like say at that stupid fucking market you guys do on Sunday, get like a produce, fruit or vegetable and just throw it at him.
No, we do not advocate violence on this podcast.
Okay.
Brian, we advocate dropping trowel and shitting on the sidewalk in front of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine what throwing it at him would be like and how much people would celebrate you as a hero and how much we would talk about you on this show about how great you would be for doing
when
that.
you ejaculate.
Do it on Chris's shoe. So... yeah, I mean, again, accelerate our neighborhood's decline. Like, the funny part about this is it's, again, this declension narrative in Ballard that is the exact opposite of what they mean, which is by accelerate decline, they mean, like, Ballard's going to hell with, like, homeless people or whatever. The problem with Ballard is it's getting richer. Like, that's the real problem. Like, it is declining, like, in that it's increasingly awful to be there. Yeah. But that's just because the income level of it keeps going up, which means the amount of assholes who live there is increased dramatically.
Yeah.
But yeah, Heidi Wills, what a pile of shit.
Yeah.
No shock, SPOG endorses Heidi.
Dan Strauss, like I said, he was at the Police Accountability Forum the other night. He, again, was on this, like, solidarity with labor trip about the fucking SPOG.
That shit sucks.
Which
Fuck
I just like, dude, shut the
That's fucking
fuck
stupid.
up.
Cop unions aren't unions. Fuck them.
They are. No.
There is a political component to being a union. You have to be remotely pro-working class.
Yeah.
The police are fundamentally, foundationally against the working class. They are not unions. They do not belong in the community of labor.
Fucking
and they can
famously
go fuck
no
themselves.
solidarity with the rest of the labor movement.
Yep.
They are what you bring in to fucking break strikes, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And it's just like signaling for labor, or like it's just it's cover. Well, all it is it's really just. I mean, the truth is, it's just the thing they were saying to sort of water down their stance to like cover. It was sort of like a weak smokescreen because it's like labor's not going, oh, hear them stand up for collective bargaining with regards to the cop contract. Even reactionary labor doesn't give a shit, about SPOG. And so anyway, it was just a fucking smokescreen. But like, hey, he's for safe injection sites.
Yeah.
He's not a bad. I mean, he's not a bad guy. He's right on the basic issues that most people have fucking come around to. Like, we can't just execute the homeless. We do have to like actually treat people like human beings.
Well, he's very much like Mike O'Brien, and that Mike O'Brien was certainly no leftist.
Yeah.
But he did live in like the real fucking world.
Yeah.
Which is the funny part about, praising the realism
these
of
guys,
Heidi Wills.
A Mike O'Brien and Dan Strauss are the actual Seattle liberals.
Yeah.
Like the people who actually are what the Seattle progressives that Seattle thinks of itself as, right?
Yeah.
That's these people, and so you can't like get too mad that Dan Strauss is gonna trounce Heidi Wills.
All right.
Okay.
So that brings us
the coup de grace here
to District 7.
This is big. This is big time. This is the district we're in right now. I mean, we're actually just offshore of the district.
Greg's not allowed.
I don't think
district land.
We're actually on a federal waterway right now. So I don't think we're in any district, but the dock is connected to, and my address is in District 7, as is Collins.
Yeah.
And this race is fucking weird, man.
So this one is Andrew Lewis, right?
Andrew Lewis versus Officer Jim Fistfight.
Yes. I heard somebody on the radio the other day call him Pugil, and I believe that is wrong.
That is wrong, yeah.
All right. Well, shall we hear who Christopher endorses?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I mean, we're going to agree with them, so this should be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Christopher endorses Jim Pugil, who is a former Seattle police chief who will bring balanced leadership to the council. He knows public safety and will support Seattle police, firefighters, and navigation teams.
Oh, he's one of those few politicians brave enough to support firefighters. Firefighters, literally the thing that for in the dark period of the left of the last 50 years, the first thing the sad, beaten down communist would try to make you understand is that is like
Firefighters. Socialism.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God.
I mean, just shut the fuck up with this first responder shit. Anyway,
by the way, this is a little off the beaten path here, but to show you how far we've come from Occupy Wall Street, do you remember in the Occupy days? This is how far the left has moved, right? In the Occupy days, when people would be like, the police, man, they're like workers. That's basically, they'd be like socialism. That's libraries, firefighters, and the police, and we all love those. Like, and cops are workers too, man. They're just they're workers working for the state. That's what we want, right? It is actually nice that people
are past that. I think that is that's been a big success of the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything that surrounds it is to say no. This is a diseased fucking institution that has got to go. You know? Well, you won't find anyone in this race espousing that abolitionist narrative or making any connections like that. No, this is between a cop and a prosecutor.
Cool.
Jim Pugil, supposed progressive police chief.
Sure.
Which, absent any
relatively,
context,
kind of.
Absent any context, that might sound good, but this is America. Let's not forget where we live. So at one point, fucking broken windows was fucking progressive policing. Okay,
and Jim Pugil's whole which we'll get into a little bit later, but his whole claim to being a progressive police chief was that at the time of the consent decree, Mike McGinn was like, "Hey, Jim, we need to do, just something. Like we need to give something." And he's like, "Hey, here's a bunch of cases of cops who like beat the hell out of like an orphan child, right? Like on film.
Yeah.
Like here's a case of a cop who ran over a handicapped person and then just reversed over them and drove over them again, like
Who
a fucking
up
cartoon.
to now we haven't punished.
Yeah, exactly, right? And he's like, oh, why don't you give them like a 1 week vacation as punishment? And he did that. And this is what we mean when we say like he's the progressive police chief, is that he was like, I guess we'll do now that the federal government's on our back, I guess we'll do like one thing.
We can point to those successes of his, of those completely reformed institutions.
Funny that you mentioned the successes, because he was immediately fired for it when Ed Murray came into office. They hired Harry Bailey to take his place, who reversed every single one of those decisions that Jim Puchel made.
Yeah,
so
and it's like,
not even his dumb little successes were even successes.
Yeah, and so like the best you can say about Jim Puchel is like, well, he was a guy who at least was conscious of was living in the real world. Yeah. Like was conscious of the optics of it all, at the very least, and was like, yeah, probably, we're actually, it turns out, under federal investigation.
Yeah.
And probably something will have to at least symbolically change, and maybe we'll have to like throw some breadcrumbs to the people here, and like
and what
that's
is?
it. But he's if that's your poster boy, your poster chief for police reform, that should fucking tell you a lot.
What he is he's a deeply pre-Trumpian figure.
Yeah.
Whereas even though like Harry Bailey and Durkin and stuff came before Trump's election, they're almost post-Trumpian figures in the sense that they realize that you actually, so when you're quote unquote in trouble, you don't actually have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just tell people you're not actually in trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly, just go, no, I'm not. Like that, which is like what Bailey did when he, basically reinstated all those officers and gave them back pay. And they're like, well, isn't that bad because of the consent decree? Like, isn't Seattle PD under investigation? Like, well, yeah, but like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no.
So,
That's the problem with Puchel is pre-Trumpian, and they didn't realize that all you just have to do is just deny that the situation even exists.
Yeah.
And then just keep living your life.
Well, like, there are other issues besides police abolition in this race here. Like,
no, Greg, this is the only issue I care about.
He's also not good on density, not good on, really on cars and
you mean
whatever.
the district that contains Magnolia is not good on any of these things?
Yeah, exactly. Fortress Magnolia.
Exactly.
Like literally the National Guard armory is in between, protects the island of Magnolia.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
But his opponent in this race, I was reminded a few weeks ago, I apparently know Andrew Lewis from college.
Reminiscent of my Al Gore story.
Yeah, I defy anyone to claim they would remember that, because I mean Andrew Lewis is like, he is also this like pre-Trumpian figure of a Democrat who is like a kid who's like, I'm going to do all the things and check all the boxes in the new Democrat program to become a tough on crime Democrat, and then I'll be a senator by the time I'm 35 or something, And so he's a prosecutor. I mean, we were in undergrad at the same time at UW, I think, and then he must have gone off to law school, and then in his hometown boy, getting in the prosecutor's office, and so he's a cop as well. It's two cops you get to choose from in District 7, which is fucking fitting. Yeah. And he just doesn't make sense. I can't figure out why he's even doing this except as because he wants to run for something else later, and again he's doing this old, like this tired old like last generation Democrat thing of like, have all the things now. Okay, you've started to build your resume, you're in the prosecutor's office, great, you're on Dem radar immediately, and now get on everybody's radar as a candidate. And it's like, And who knows? Maybe he could win. Even in this fucking police accountability forum, Andrew Lewis could not help but fucking fillet Pugil for his service.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, I certainly don't want to, like...
I won't be able to get my answer out because I'll be too busy thanking Jim for his service.
Basically. I mean, he almost really said that. And he seemed like he was winging it the whole time. And, like, again, he was very, very much on this, like, cops are labor trip that I found just baffling.
Yeah.
And was very... And I mean, he even, so far as to say this was especially the case with him because his answer was to would you have supported the SPOG contract was one of the only yeses.
Ugh.
And then
anybody who says that is a no vote.
Fuck
right
off.
there. Yeah.
Fuck off. Now, and then his follow-up and his like defense of that was, well, we have to respect the collective bargaining process with this union of public servants or whatever. Bullshit. Even Jim Pugil, again, but it's not like, you don't have to believe either of these things. It's just Jim Pugil was smart enough to read the room and just have a better take where he said the obvious fucking, I don't know why go down this labor, valorization level. It makes no fucking sense because Jim Pugil sounded way more fucking credible on it because he said, well, I would not have let's get back before that. I want to be on the committee, whatever the fucking acronym is, on the council, whatever subcommittee was responsible for that negotiation. I want to be on that. And I would not have let that contract as it was get out of that committee and go to the council because it so clearly...
I want to get rid of the bad things and put in the good things.
Yeah. Well, but because it so clearly contradicts the fucking consent decree. He says he's like...
And maybe that part isn't exactly clear yet, in that the reason why it's crazy to say, like, you got to support the contract is that the Judge Robarts, who's overseeing the consent decree, has literally said, you cannot have this contract and get out from under the consent decree. Like, this contract is a direct violation of the consent decree. So at this point, it is literal insanity to be like, I support it. Like, what? Yeah. It's basically saying that we're going to be under, federal consent decree forever. Or,
right.
I guess until Judge Roberts decides.
He just running.
You're a fucking segregationist at this point. Like, you are the school segregationist who's like,
it's not like
I don't see what the problem is.
It's not possible that Lewis actually believes that or is like for the contract again because it's insane.
Yeah.
But but again he. Cookie cutter perfect fucking Democrat.
Yeah.
No fucking actual principles. Always trying to triangulate at every moment. And in this moment, he's sitting there. You could see it in the fucking beads of sweat on his pasty forehead. You could see him triangulating between the hallowed chief next to him and support for labor and trying to thread this fucking insane needle where he thinks he has to run strong on cops because he's running against a former popular police chief, which doesn't actually make any sense if people care that much about the cops. They're just going to vote for Jim Pugil. And then he's making that triangulation. He ends up with nothing. He ends up with fucking insanity.
Yeah.
He literally says, I would have supported it. Well, because we have, it's collective bargaining. And it's like, that's not
that's not the point.
At least make a point here. You could say anything. You don't have to even answer it as a yes or no question.
You're not voting on that contract from a year ago. Like that vote happened.
This is your chance in front of this crowd of people and cameras and reporters to say a thing that isn't stupid. Make it about whatever you want, but I mean, Jesus.
Just failed.
Dude, utter failure.
Well, speaking of supporting cops, SPOG, this is one of the ones they decided not to endorse in. And I can only assume because they are still so fucking petty and butthurt about the, again, extremely minor slap on the wrist
anyone
that Jim Pugil
possibly
gave.
Get a fucking slap on the wrist. Well, I bring it back to Sean Scott at that fucking forum saying clearly, yes, I hold this entire fucked up process against SPOG for coming to those negotiations in total bad faith with the concept of the consent decree and with any notions of reform at all. Okay, and that's why we got this contract that we did, and that says it right there. These people won't even fucking endorse a former police chief, someone who ultimately at the end of the days would be very good for them on the council. I suspect
almost certainly would vote for vote along their lines every step of the way, and but they're so fucking petty.
I mean,
they won't even do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
But who knows? Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's how petty it is. That's how petty SPOG is. And I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, only Nixon can go to China. Maybe Jim Pugil can get in there. Maybe he wants to get in there. Maybe he's, after all his travails going around in Seattle to reform, maybe he's secretly an abolitionist as well and is going to get on there and, as a former police chief, have the credibility to completely gut and whatever. But that's
maybe he'll realize his love will never be requited from the rest of the police.
Well, that's got to hurt, right? I mean, but then again, that scab is long healed over for him, I'm sure, because like he had that when he was the chief.
Well,
he was a huge amount of pushback.
Yeah, and interestingly, Norm Stamper had like a weird conversion moment post. Yes, Norm Stamper was the Seattle police chief, right, during the 1999 WTO riots, right? And essentially, there was three different, one from Seattle PD, one from the city council, and one from like a mayor, I think the mayor's office, right? Three different investigations of that disaster, right? And all of them, for various reasons, I think found it convenient to just throw it all on Norm, right? Not to say it wasn't his fucking fault, certainly was. Which led to him, of course, being fired. And then he had this weird come to Jesus moment where he was like, maybe there's something wrong with policing in this country. Yeah. And he actually started to have a moment of realization in his book, Breaking Rank, like started to have like a moment of realization that maybe there's like some fundamental problems with policing in America. I've heard from people who've been around him recently that that has worn a little thin on him, and he's kind of back on the blue train. But for a few years, I'm going to
chalk that also up to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Because a guy like Stamper, you can see him being like, okay, yeah, well, let's all look at it a different way. Let me get the cops on side, and we'll reform from within, and we'll make some real changes that needs to be made. But the second you start like really demanding something from oppressed populations,
he's back out again.
You go Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah. His loyalty to the police runs a lot deeper than his realizations or epiphanies about their potential badness, right?
Yeah.
But so that's all the districts. So I think for District 7, once again, do not vote in District 7. It sucks.
Just don't.
Just go vote in District 3 and 4. If you live in District 7, go to District 3 and 4. Cast your ballots, preferably in both of them.
So I'm really dogging on Andrew Lewis here, but he's actually, in the end, he's going to be he is better on all the other issues. He's better on density for sure. He is better on, housing, on homelessness. He's better on a lot of issues. And in the end, really, he'll probably be better on fucking cop issues too, than the literal actual former police chief. But don't expect anything great from him. I just think, and ultimately, like, he's run a sort of very boring, sad fucking campaign.
What an inspiring place to end.
Yeah, my home.
But yeah, so don't expect any help from District 7. And that sort of rounds up the candidates. Again, we'll be talking.
This has been the filthy electoral hour.
Yeah. And again, we'll be talking Egan Orion next
and
week.
Shama Swan, a whole episode devoted to District 3 next week because, we've talked so much about District 4 on the show over the last year. I did tweet at Shama asking her to come on the show. Never heard back. Guys, if anybody has a better connection there, we'd still love to have her, but yeah. So tune in for that, and then at some point this filthy election will be over, and we can go back to talking about, I don't know, shit in the
sidewalks.
streets. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh, hold on. We have new patrons.
Oh, hey.
So we'd like to thank Luke Jesperson and Munya.
Munya,
As in
this buddy of mine. Yeah, okay, cool dude. Cool dude.
All right, thank you. Munya, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Munya. Thank you, Munya. And thank you, Luke. And if you want to be cool like Munya and Luke, all you got to do is hop over to Patreon, look up Seattle Sucks, and for the cost of a cup of water at Starbucks, I believe, runs about $5 now, you can listen to our sweet, sweet back catalog full of exciting interviews with Egan Orion, interviews with Shama Sawant, interviews with all the candidates we talked to, and of course our deep 4-hour-long interview with Christopher Rufo, where he tells us about how he wants to be our friend and he wants to hang out on the boat with us.
Before we keel haul him.
So check that out on Patreon. And other than that, I guess thank you and have a good night.